How's it going, Kings fans? I'm Ryan Hernandez, and this is the Kings Court. We had some technical difficulties, so we only have Vince on the audio instead of having him on the video. So we apologize for that, and so let's get started. Hey Vince, how's it going? I know we have technical difficulties, but how are you doing?
Disappointed that we have technical difficulties, but I'm here, we're going. This is actually round 2 of these videos that we're doing. If you guys were here earlier, we tried starting the show at 4:30, but again, technical difficulties got in the way, so we're going round 2 to see how this one goes. But yeah, glad to be back on the Kings Court. I was hoping to be in my office, couldn't do it, but still joining you guys audio. And yeah, so SatKingsNation.com, Fansided.com, and GoldenGateSports.com are the places that we do this show for the Kings Court, and yeah, can't wait to get on the show. Ryan, give us that first topic of the day.
Our first topic of today's show is Kevin Love too risky move to get Kevin Love?
Yeah, guys, so basically we're talking about, is Kevin Love a bit too risky for us to go after? You know, for me personally, me and Ryan we've discussed this many times, you know, off air, you know, just discussing whether or not is he really a good fit, and is it like, or are the Kings giving up too much to go after him? And me personally, Ryan disagrees. I think it's a bit too risky of a move. I think, one, the Kings aren't in dire need to go get him. Though they want to win now, we all know how badly this new regime wants to win. They're not on a short time span as before, like where they can leave next year. They're going to be here for 30-plus years. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then let's say, I'm going to get into this big all trade scenario. Ryan, take a back seat, take a breather, because I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. But the Kings would have to give up Ben McLemore, the number 8 pick, possibly lose Isaiah Thomas, and then hope Rudy Gay still decides that he wants to opt out and restructure his contract, or he still opts into his deal where he'll receive $19.5 million. Let's say this scenario happens. Kevin Love, Kings get Kevin Love. They trade away Ben McLemore, Jason Thompson, Jason Terry, and the number 8 pick. Those 4 players. Isaiah Thomas does a sign-and-trade deal where the Kings trade away Isaiah Thomas for, I don't know, whatever they can get for him. Let's say another point guard, right? So that happens. Then the Kings, they do a sign-and-trade deal where Isaiah Thomas goes. They trade down for the 14th pick. Tyler Ennis is your point guard. Woo! Awesome. Let's say the Kings now make the playoffs that next season. Okay, so you have Kevin Love, Rudy Gay, DeMarcus Cousins, and Tyler Ennis running your team right now. And the Kings make the playoffs that very first round. They get knocked out. They get swept. They lose, 4-2. It doesn't matter. They lose and get knocked out of the first round of the playoffs. And then Kevin Love decides, you know what? I still want to go test myself and go, to a big market team and see what they can do and pieces they can put around me in like L.A. where most people think he would go, or Boston. And so he decides to leave. And Rudy Gay goes, well, if Kevin Love's not going to be here and it's just me and DeMarcus with Tyler Ennis possibly growing, we already lost Ben McLemore, I'm going to go be a free agent for the very first time in my career, an unrestricted free agent next season, so you know what, I'm gone. So now you're left with DeMarcus Cousins and Tyler Ennis, let's say because, again, sign and trade deal to Isaiah Thomas, you guys basically traded back for Isaiah Thomas. Which would then give you, okay, the Kings make the playoffs, and now they're not in the lottery. That 2015 pick is in Chicago. So now you don't have a first-round pick. You have Tyler Ennis, you have DeMarcus Cousins, you have Carl Landry, who's coming off an injury, still has 3 years on his contract, and, pieces to work around. So is that really worth the risk of giving up all these pieces to now you lost Ben McLemore, who was last year's first-round pick, you're losing this year's first-round pick, and then the Kings would also be losing next year's first-round pick because in this scenario, the Kings make the playoffs. You lose Rudy Gay because he decides, well, first time ever being an unrestricted free agent in my career, gonna go pursue that. Kevin Love goes, hey, big market team, LA, Boston, New York. Let's go try those scenarios. And now you're left basically back at step 1. And is that too much of a risk? You guys leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think of this scenario. Ryan, What are your thoughts on this?
Well, any time a team has to give up draft picks to try to go after a player that's going to be a free agent or maybe opting towards being a free agent is going to be risky. But with that said, there is a high reward to making a move this risky. The Kings could potentially be a top team if this works out between the Kings with the Kings getting DeMarcus Cousins and Kevin Love to team up. It is a very, very intriguing move. If that happens, because they play perfectly together, their games complement each other perfectly. DeMarcus Cousins loves to be in the paint. He loves the contact. Not Rudy, but Kevin Love likes to be on the three or on the near the outside of the paint. He loves shooting the ball, and he likes passing. So this is a good situation for the Kings because they lacked in assists and they lacked ball movement. So if they bring a guy that's willing to pass the ball like Kevin Love is, he can give you around 4 or 5 assists a game, depending on the personnel for the team. So I think that this is a very good move if the Kings can get that, and if they can convince Rudy Gay to either opt into his contract or restructure his contract for the long term. Because if they can have those three play together, it would be very exciting for Sacramento Kings basketball. Rudy Gay loves playing with good passing, skilled big men. His skill level is set for that style of gameplay. It showed when he was in Memphis, and it showed when he was traded to the Kings and was playing alongside DeMarcus Cousins. His numbers are better when he gets to play with a skilled big man. So adding another high-level passer, skilled big man, would make his numbers better. Like statistically, looking at his free throw or field goal percentage, it goes higher because he doesn't have to work as hard to score the ball. So bringing in Kevin Love would help him in that category. But what does this mean for Kevin Love? Well, Kevin Love gets a shot at the playoffs. He's never been in the playoffs, and that was his main beef with his team, is that they did not make the playoffs, and he did not have a good supporting cast. He was complaining about his supporting cast not doing enough, not doing enough to help him out. Kevin Love had to do everything for the Timberwolves. He had to score, he had to rebound, he had to pass the ball. So now Kevin Love, with DeMarcus Cousins and potentially Rudy Gay, he doesn't have to do as much. So his numbers, shooting percentage, will go up. His passing will be very beneficial to the team, and he will get more open shots. So is this a good move for Kevin Love? Yes. Is this a good move for the Kings? Possibly. If they can make the playoffs, and if they can, Kevin Love will stay. I guarantee it. Kevin Love will stay if the Kings make the playoffs, if they get him.
And they get knocked out of the first round.
Yes.
Okay, about the supporting cast, though. There was a time where, I believe Kevin Martin was on the Minnesota Timberwolves this year, right? It was this year or last year? It was this year?
It's this year.
Minnesota Timberwolves this year. They have a great defender in Luke Mbah-a-Moute who's on their bench. They have Corey Brewer, a great wing defender that's there. You have Ricky Rubio, who's a passing machine. And you had Nikola Pekovic, who, Nikola, he got that nickname because he bangs down low, scream out his name. He's a muscle man. He even gave DeMarcus Cousins fits throughout the season this year. So, the supporting cast thing, a lot of people say, yeah, he doesn't have that great of a supporting cast. I like the supporting cast that they would have in Minnesota, because then you go to the Kings and you're trading away all these pieces. Then who is going to back up these players? Who's going to back up DeMarcus Cousins? Carl Landry. Okay, then you're going to have Derek Williams be your 4, and then Travis Outlaw, who's going to be your 3. Then who's your shooting guard? Who's your other point guard? You have all these other missing pieces where Kevin Love and DeMarcus Cousins and Rudy Gay, now they're even doing even more work than before. And speaking on Rudy Gay, you brought it up earlier, like just a few minutes ago, that his numbers went up after he left Toronto when he came to Sacramento. He set career highs in his field goal percentage this year because of the way he played next to DeMarcus Cousins. That's just one big man. That a career high with just one big man. When you have 2 like Marc Gasol, like Zach Randolph, and you know what? If you're going to bring up his 4 assists and we consider him a passing power forward in Kevin Love, then maybe why wouldn't have Rudy Gay set his career high when he was in Memphis, and he had those 2 players to play off of, and he wasn't taking as many shots as before when he was the 3rd option. On this Kings team, he was kind of the second option each time down the floor, and yet he still set that career high with only one big man because of the way they play and how many times he had the ball in his hands. I think that, yes, you're probably right. Maybe Kevin Love stays if they make the playoffs. Again, that's too big of a question for me. You don't know if Ben McLemore can turn into something special. We talked about it before, even when we had James Ham on. Like, their first rookie season of Ben McLemore matched almost exactly statistically with the best shooter the Kings have ever had in Peja Stojakovic. And you're giving that away for someone who could possibly be leaving you that following season, and that to me is just too big of a risk. But we want to know what you guys all think, so leave your comments in the comment section whether you agree with Ryan that, you know what, you need to take that risk now, or you agree with me where it's, the Kings are going to be here for 30-plus years, and they could have even possibly had more wins, and maybe they don't need to add that humongous piece, but add key players. And that's how, we've discussed that back and forth also, Ryan, that this Kings team just needs to get role players. They don't need a star. Even that team back in the old day, I mean, do you consider Chris Webber a superstar type of a player? Was he a superstar?
Well, according to the NBA, no.
I don't consider him a superstar either. Vlade Divac was not a superstar. You don't need a team full of superstars, although it would be nice. You don't need it. And Kevin Love, although he's also not a superstar in my eyes either because he hasn't made the playoffs, but you don't need those type of players. When you already have a good foundation with the 3 that you have, as long as you can, I think the Kings need a distributor. I think the Kings need a more knockdown shooter other than Isaiah Thomas because you gave away all the shooters with Jimmer Fredette and Marcus Thornton and players like that. You need to bring in just role players, and I think this Kings team can go far without it. But, again, guys, leave your comments in the comment section below and let us know what you guys think and how or what side you're on. Do you think the Kings should go after Kevin Love as if it's the time now to go do it and go win now? Or, take time and
more technical difficulties. Very, very sorry for these technical difficulties. It's been ridiculous. So, yeah. With that said, I guess we'll move on to fan questions because, yeah.
all right, guys, like we said, we are having technical difficulties to an extreme, so we're going to try and do fan questions here.
Okay. Our first question of today is from Nick. He says, do you guys feel that DeMarcus Cousins deserves to make at least the second All-NBA team? Or was he better than that or better than Noah for the first NBA team?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. So the question is from Nick. So Nick, thank you for your question. And was Cousins good enough? Was he snubbed basically from the first team or the All NBA second team? And to me, the Kings only had 28 wins. And you do take that into consideration. I think voters take that into consideration when they're taking these All-NBA votes. So should he have made the All-NBA first team over Noah? I don't think so. I think that he should have made the All-NBA second team possibly, mainly due to the numbers. If you compare them to the All-NBA first team centers, compared them to that, he should have been on the All-NBA second team. But, to say he's better than Noah or to say that he's above Noah, I mean, one team was in the playoffs and one team wasn't. One team plays hard on both ends of the floor, and let's be honest, one player doesn't, and that player is DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, that's just honesty at its finest. But, Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's not better than Noah because Noah helps his team out in more ways than Cousins does. He may not get as much in the scoring column, but he does rebound the ball. He does pass the ball at a high level. He can play defense, even though that a lot of his things that he does do for his team doesn't end up in the stat sheet. It doesn't mean he's not as good as Cousins, and it doesn't it's how his team it's like what the team needs from him. So Noah adapted to what his team needs from him, and that's why his numbers are the way they are. But he is still better than Cousins because his team made the playoffs. Cousins did. Cousins' team only had 28 wins. And I still think that the NBA isn't over DeMarcus Cousins' attitude yet.
Well, he hasn't made it. He hasn't made it easy for them. He hasn't made it easy for them to forget, that he has a temper tantrum. He made improvements this year. I mean, hands down, he made improvements this year. But, that doesn't aside the fact that he also was one of the top three. He was tied for first, I believe, with three other players for having the most technicals in the season, and he missed the last game of the season because of these technicals. So although us as avid Kings fans who get to watch the game, we know that, hey, yeah, Cousins did show improvement this year in his attitude. But, let's be honest here. The All-NBA voters, they don't just focus on DeMarcus Cousins and say, oh, yeah, and watch every single game. No, they check out every center. They check out every point guard. They go to every other game. And you know what? They probably look at teams that are winning. And that's the big difference. And also, like Ryan said earlier, stats are deceiving. You can't just go by the stat line and say, hey, Cousins and Noah's numbers are exactly the same, so you have to believe that. No, that's not true. Because what Noah does that's for the team, like Ryan said, helps in every aspect to win a game. Whether that be blocking a shot, whether that means falling on the floor, whether that means just being a cheerleader on the sidelines while waiting to check back in. Noah does every piece of that, and I don't think that he's better than Joakim Noah. Now, offensively, DeMarcus Cousins has him. Defensively, Noah has him. And rebounding-wise, they're about even. But it's the intangible things that Noah does is what puts him all in the All-NBA first team, the winning to get it. And you know what? That Bulls team lost Derrick Rose. That Bulls team lost Luol Deng. And they still made the playoffs. You know what I mean? So you have to take that into consideration. No, DeMarcus Cousins did not get snubbed from the All-NBA first team. Maybe the All-NBA second team. Maybe. But let me know what you guys think. Was he snubbed from the All-NBA first team? And so let's go ahead and move on to question number 2.
Okay, this one comes from Jeff Day. He says, I don't see how Kevin Love would help the Kings be a better team if they have to trade their 8th pick, a few of their young, good players for him. What's your opinion on how the Kings can improve?
I mean, we've kind of touched on it a lot through this episode. I mean, making this episode, is Kevin Love too risky, was basically hitting it right on the head. You know, it sounds like you, Jeff, I believe the name was, Jeff, thank you for your question, of course, all the way. But, yeah, you know, the title of this episode, is Kevin Love too risky? It sounds like you're kind of more wavering on my side more than Ryan, is that you're giving up too much talent. I think your question is how do you make this team better? I think you fill in the voids. You fill in the fact that the Kings need a distributor. You fill in the fact that the Kings need a both outside defender, perimeter defender, and someone who can help DeMarcus Cousins guard that paint, because let's be honest, DeMarcus Cousins is no center, or is no defensive center. He's not one of those guys who should be looked at as a defensive anchor for a team. And you know what? That's what happened last year, is Coach Malone had to look to his big man and say, hey, we just gave you the keys to the franchise. You have to be the leader. You have to be the defensive anchor for this team. And you know what? That's why the Kings were ranked last in almost all departments of the defensive NBA league. So for me, I don't think you need to go after Kevin Love. I think you need to fill in players who, you know, don't need the ball offensively but can be effective offensively. You need defensive players, of course, and you need a ball distributor. And that's just me. I don't think you need a big name like Kevin Love. I don't think you need to spend the money and get rid of, you know, this young talent that you've already brought in. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, you know, I do agree that they need to go after players like, you know, those role players to help out the team. But, you know, if you have a chance of getting a good player like Kevin Love, you go after it. That's how I believe, you know, because those chances don't happen for a small market like Sacramento. So if they have a chance of getting that, they should go after it, because they probably won't get another chance like that ever.
Again, guys, leave your comments in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with Ryan where, hey, you have a chance at a big-name guy like Kevin Love, an all-star, a multiple-time all-star player. You go get him if he's on the market, and if it's already been reported the Kings are the leader, supposedly, in the Love sweepstakes if or when this happens. So, I mean, if you have a chance, you go get him. Or are you on my side where you're like, hey, I mean, if the Kings didn't get that many trades going, if the Kings didn't have, you know, stayed healthy and had the right players to distribute the basketball, have defense, you guys could have been a 38-win team and on the verge of possibly being an 8th contender. Or, you know, what side are you on? Do you think you go after the big name, or do you think you still develop, especially now that you have time? Ryan, go ahead and move on to question number 3.
Okay, question number 3 comes from Let's Go Sack. If a point guard is drafted and Isaiah Thomas is re-signed, what does that mean for Ray McCallum?
Ooh, that is a good question. You know, I think the Kings are looking to move Isaiah Thomas. I think that that their main goal is to, you know, transition away from Thomas. I think that they still picture Thomas as a six-man, like most teams probably do. And that's why, you know, you haven't really heard news on if, and also they don't really need to hear news until after the draft, but if Isaiah Thomas really wants to come back, and I do say that, and he was asked, you know, how do you feel about coming back to Sacramento? And, you know, one of his main things that he said is, you know, I want to be on a team that wants me, and I'm a score-first point guard. He's admittedly said what he was. So, I mean, if they draft a point guard, let's say they draft Marcus Smart with the number 8 pick, and they re-sign Isaiah Thomas, I would probably think, and this is just me, Isaiah Thomas starts. I think that they put Marcus Smart as the 6th man and see how that goes, and then if Marcus Smart shows, hey, I'm good off the bench, let me see myself as a starter, I can see them trying to transition Isaiah Thomas back to the bench as a 6-man role, and I think Ray McCallum goes back to the D-League to still develop. What about you, Ryan?
Well, that was a really good question. With Ray McCallum, it's kind of a tricky situation, especially if they draft a point guard and they keep Isaiah Thomas. I think that there is a possibility that they might slide point guard if they get Marcus Smart. I think that there's a possibility he would just slide on to the 2, and they would see how he develops as a 2,
Then what do you do with Ben McLemore?
Ben McLemore would be starting at the beginning of the season, but if Marcus Smart shows that he is a starter quality, then they'll just switch position or switch roles. And because let's face it, Ben McLemore at this point in his career, he can shoot. He's very streaky, but his defense is lacking, and he's not very strong. So if you want to put some good pieces out there, you'd probably go with a stronger guy in that position. Just like in point guard, Isaiah Thomas is a little small for his position. So if you can get a bigger, stronger guy that can play both ends of the floor, it's probably better to do that. But as far as Ray McCallum goes, if they want to keep Isaiah Thomas and they want to get that other point guard, I think that they're probably would look to trade him because I don't see where you can be useful other than being the third guy in the, as a point guard, the third point guard in the lineup.
Yeah, and the Kings have done with something like this before. You guys remember they had Isaiah Thomas, Aaron Brooks, and Jimmer Fredette. They had Grievous, Vasquez, Isaiah Thomas, and Jimmer Fredette. Out of those three players, one of them is going to draw the short end of the stick. And you know what? I think that what Ray McCallum showed was how great it was. It was still on a 28-win team. I think that Ray McCallum still has a lot more to learn, and I think you saw how good the D-League did for Ray McCallum. He was there back and forth. He was back in practice. He was supposedly back in the Kings, facilities and back up to the roster, and then they'd ship him back down to the D-League. That did good for him. And I think that if you keep doing that with him for maybe one more year, and you see kind of how Marcus Smart or Tyler Ennis or whatever point guard they decide to go with, if they decide to draft a point guard, you keep Isaiah Thomas because of what he's proven. He's proven he can score in this league. He's proven he's meant to be in this league. And with Marcus Smart, and then you have to test it. You have to test the waters. So maybe you're right. Maybe Smart moves to the 2. And then at the same time, maybe Isaiah Thomas moves as the 6th man, which most teams already picture him as. And he was great as a 6th man this year in the beginning of the season. He was the leading candidate for the first 3 months or first 2 months of the season for being 6th man of the year. So, it's not a bad idea to have him back on the bench. I just think the main part of this question is what do you do with Ray McCallum? Because I think on hands down you start the new point guard, or not start, but they are automatically in the lineup, whether it's a 6th man or a starter. And you just want to know what you're going to do with Ray McCallum. And I think Ray McCallum goes back to the D-League until they either find a suitor for Isaiah Thomas or, they figure out what's going on with their rotation. But I think Ray McCallum would be the one drawing the short end of the stick. But, yeah, I think we have one more question, right, Ryan? So then we'll answer that one question, and that'll be our show for the day.
Yeah, it's from Nick again. He says, who wins, Spurs or Heat, and how many games?
Oh, off topic for Kings. For me, I have the Spurs winning, mainly due to the fact that I really want Tim Duncan to have just one more ring before he looks to retire. Also, he would beat LeBron James in the finals 2 out of 3 times. I think that would be awesome. This is the 3rd time they've met in the finals now. I think it'd be awesome to see, Tim Duncan win it. And I'm also in the mindset that you don't give the Spurs a second chance at a title. If you're going to see them again and you're going to bring the same roster, you need to cut. For me, I think that Game 6 shot by Ray Allen, stuff happens. But if that does not go in, the series is over. Spurs won. You don't give them that second chance. I think Ginobili has something to prove. He had on and off games all through last year. He has something to prove. He's fighting for something. Tim Duncan wants one more. Tony Parker is just Tony Parker. And then you have the big 3 where this is their 4th consecutive year. Dwayne Wade's banged up. You're relying a lot on LeBron James. You're hoping Chris Bosh's shot can keep falling. But, the talent level just to get to this finals, the Spurs went through a harder road to get to the finals than the Heat did. The Heat went down to Charlotte and could have had a hard time, but the Charlotte star player, Al Jefferson, gets hurt. Then you go to, Washington? No. Was it Washington?
No, it was the Nets.
Oh, that's right. Then you go to the Nets with that older team where KG isn't really doing much. They beat him in the regular season. Regular season and playoffs are completely different. Then you go to the Pacers, who had one of the biggest debacles I've ever seen in my life. Oh my goodness, they went from oh my man, we're going for that number one seed, which the Heat gave to them, and then completely failed through that whole second half of the season into the playoffs. So they limped their way there. I think the Heat got an easy. Yeah, I mean, there's no easy road to the playoffs, but they got an easier road to the playoffs. And I just think the Spurs have that hunger and have that bad taste in their mouth that they're just ready to take away with some winning champagne and having a ring on their finger.
Okay, cool. Well, I think the Spurs are going to win. I think they're going to win 5 or 6 in 5 or 6 games.
I have it in 5. I have it in 5. I don't know if I said that. I see the Spurs winning in 5.
Yeah. So I think that they're going to win. They're more hungry, as you said, because they got that bad taste in their mouth from the last finals. They're well-coached team. They're a lot better coached team than anyone else in the NBA. Popovich is the best coach, hands down, in the NBA. So everyone knows the Spurs are one of the most dominant teams for the last 17 years. They've been in the playoffs. They have not missed the playoffs since Tim Duncan has been there. So I'm pretty sure that when Tim Duncan wants to win, he wins. And this season, he wants to win the title, so he's going to get it. He's going to do everything.
No, don't say it. He wanted to win last year. Ray Allen got that shot from Chris Bosh off that lucky rebound, and that's what killed it. They should have won last year. I'm sorry. I stand by that. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, but they shoulda. All right, they should have won last year. Tim Duncan wanted it last year. But, yeah,
I understand what you're talking about, but I'm just saying when he has that hunger and he really is going at it, and the rest of the team has really had that bad taste in their mouth, they're gonna get it because that's how they're coached. They're coached for perfection, and when they don't get that perfection, the next chance they get, they fix that imperfection pretty well. How many times have we seen Popovich call a timeout, chew out his teammates, and then they go on a run?
And not just I think teammates. You just said it right there also. Popovich chews out everyone, whether it be the star player in Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. He doesn't care. That is right.
Yeah.
Popovich will get on everyone's case. He treats everyone exactly the same.
That's why I like him. He doesn't play favorites, and he strives for perfection, and he won't settle for anything else. So that's why I think that the Spurs will win, because of that imperfection last season and that upsetting game last season, that they're going to try that much harder to get the win this season.
Definitely. And yeah, I don't know if you guys heard me because I was kind of a little bit distant away from the phone there, but yeah, I see the Spurs winning in 5 games. I don't think they're losing at home. I think they still want to win in Miami, and when they come back to San Antonio, they're not losing again in front of their home crowd. Because I think if they go to 7, it's risky. It's again 50-50. I think they want to close it out as quickly as possible. I think 5 games they can do it. And you saw in that game 1, they were attacking the low post. They were attacking their weaknesses. And especially when you see Rashard Lewis guarding Tim Duncan, that's a mismatch. When you see Rashard Lewis guarding Tiago Splitter, that is a mismatch. Now, Rashard Lewis, yes, he can bang down threes on the other side, but this season, this playoff season, he hasn't really been hitting consistently. So you're hoping he can score. He's not like Mike Miller when he's coming off the bench. He can start draining them at will. He's not Jesus Shuttlesworth, Ray Allen. He's not him at all. You know what I mean? So, and for those who don't know what Jesus Shuttlesworth is, go watch He Got Game and figure it out. All right, so that's what I have to say to those people. But anyways, yeah, I see Spurs in 5. Again, guys, that is our episode. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you don't like this video, hit the dislike button, although I'll be kind of disappointed. But hey, we need to improve. We need to improve. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Is Kevin Love too risky? Are the Kings are you on my side where you think, hey, Kings are giving up too much? Build with what you have. Fill in the voids. Or are you with Ryan where you say, hey, this is a big name. You guys are the leaders in the sweepstakes. You go get them when you have that chance. So leave your comments in the comment section below. You know, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber yet, become a subscriber. Go to SacKingsNation.com, you know, Fansided.com, GoldenGateSports.com. We have new stuff posting every single day. Yesterday was Thursday. Throwback Thursdays are now on SacKingsNation.com. We just reviewed the career of Peja Stojakovic. Tomorrow we'll have a prospect profile on no other point guard that we just brought up earlier, Marcus Smart. And, yeah, you know, we're building for success. We're keep growing, and, you know, we would love for you guys to grow with us. So let us know what you like, dislike about the video. Comments in the comment section. Subscribe. Ryan, where can people find you on Twitter?
They can find me on Twitter at KingNandisRyan. Go and like me on there. Go and like me on there. Ask me a few questions. I will be very happy to answer your questions. And as always, stay classy, Sacramento.
All right, guys, and you guys can also follow me on Twitter as well. I'm at VM Center. Yeah, we both love talking Kings basketball, so follow me or Ryan on Twitter at King Nandez Ryan for Ryan, and at VM Center for myself on Twitter and all the other various social media websites. But yeah, you can find me on all those things at VM Center. Follow this actual show and SacKingsNation.com at SKN Articles. Follow Golden Gate Sports and Fansided.com at Golden Bay Sports, and Fansided.com at Fansided. So, yeah, be sure to go check out all of those sites, become a subscriber, share this video, and until next time, Kings fans, bye-bye. Ryan, throw up the deuces!